Hey guys, so in episode number 13, we are going to take care of our handgun. So we will add the handgun that comes with the package that we use in this project to our weapon system. And as you can see, I already did that, so I can switch between the handgun and the rifle. And we also will add the animator controller for our handgun and create all the logic there so that we have a full working animation system. So I can run and I can aim just like we can with our rifle. And when I hold down the left mouse button, you see I can only shoot once, okay? Instead of like shooting full automatic, I can only shoot once with the handgun, but I can still shoot in auto mode when it comes to a rifle. So we will also implement a system for that. And then of course we will also add the reload logic to our handgun as well, so that we are playing two different reloading animations depending on if we're empty or not. We are all going to do that in today's episode, so I would say let's get started. Alright, so I already dragged and dropped the handgun to our first gun here in the last episode. But in order to make this work, we need to adjust here a few things, because right now, when we hit play, the handgun sits on the right position when we are not aiming, right? But once I aim, it's a little bit off, and we also have no animations playing, so we need to take care of all of that. So I guess I would create here inside assets a new animator first off. So let's right click here and then let's choose animator controller, and it's called handgun or anim pistol. Okay, and then we will do basically the same as what we already did here inside our anim rifle controller. So we need to choose the animations that we have here, and the first animation is takeout. Okay, so the entry animation is just like in our rifle animator controller, the takeout animation, and then we want to switch over to idle. So it will make you just the transition with has exit time checked. Okay, and then we also want to make sure that the handgun itself uses that as the anim control. So I will drag and drop the anim pistol to the anim control like so, and then I guess we can remove that now, and this should already be applied to our handgun. So if I drag and drop that in again, no, it isn't. How do we handle this again with our rifle? So prefabs. Alright, yeah, that's because I create a prefab for our rifle, so we need to do the same as well. Okay, now when I just drag and drop the handgun to our scene, it will be spawned at the position of our gun hold, right? And at the same time, if I minimize here everything and head over to our weapon at downside aiming script, we have here the new position. Okay, and we need to adjust that. So let's first off open up the downside aiming script, and what we need to do is, for now, this will be a really static method of handling that problem. We could also make this more dynamic later on, but for now we need to kind of like limit the new position depending on if we have, for example, a handgun or maybe a rifle and so on. So for now, I would just simply create a bool Okay, that's not a very good method of handling this problem, but for now it will just work fine. Here we say is rifle, and this will be set to true by default. So inside update, first off, before we actually do here anything, let's head over quickly to our project again and hit play, and let's find a position for our aiming down sight when we have our gun equipped. So let's adjust that to maybe -10. And again, because we're in play mode, these values won't be saved, which comes in quite handy. And I'm not sure what's going on here. Alright, that's because I have 2 handguns here inside my scene. And in fact, we are already spawning the new handgun whenever we hit play, because we have equipped our first weapon with the handgun mesh. Okay, so let's adjust these values here for our aiming down sight. Seems like 20 will be a good value for a handgun. There we go. Okay, so make sure to change this back to -0.25. So -20 if we have the handgun. So what I would do inside update, I would simply say for now, if weapons inventory instance inventory pistol, so if that's the name of the first item inside our inventory, we want to set the new position to a new vector tree, and here we want to use minus. Before we do that, let's just create another vector tree, and let's call it pistol position. And again, that's a very hacky way of doing that. But for now, it would just work. Let's add this actually to here. So I would say if the inventory instance inventory first item is equals to pistol, and of course we have to change that. So if that's the case, we want to use the original position time new position. But if that's not the case, we just copy that. Instead, we want to use the pistol position. And then it's just a matter of adding here brackets as well, copying that in, and then we can basically just take that if statement and say, hey, if it's the need to make this a false statement. So if it's not pistol, use the standard if it's not pistol, just use the new position, else use the pistol position. Okay, that makes more sense. And then we need to repeat this here down here. So if it's not the name is not pistol, do that. Else, well, we want to use the transform from our pistol position to the original position. Basically what we're doing already here with our rifle, but this time we want to use the pistol position. And again, that's not a very good way of handling this problem, just like said, but for now it would just work fine. This definitely needs a little bit more optimization to make this a little bit more dynamic, because right now, in order to make this work, we also need to head over to our weapon database and make sure that the name from first gun is set to pistol, otherwise it won't work. And I guess we will use a more realistic ammo size for our pistol, and then we have maybe 24 shots. Okay, so if I hit now play, this won't yet work because I forgot to add the new position for a pistol position. So here it said -20, and for the other wares we can just take the wares we have for a rifle. Okay, and now it should work. Okay, so right mouse button, and there we go. We use the downside for a pistol, and if I switch to the rifle, let's see. Guess we have to create a prefab for that, so let's just drag and drop the handgun to our prefabs folder, create an original prefab. I will remove it from our scene entirely, and then I will just drag and drop that to a weapon database. And now it should finally work, hopefully. So we have right now an issue, and that is that we get here the message or the warning that the animator is not playing an animator control. So let's just take the prefab from our handgun here again to our scene, and then let's make sure that we also adjust here the, actually let's remove it from scene, sorry for that. What we can do instead, go to the prefabs folder, click on the handgun, and then we can just drag and drop the anim pistol controller to it, and this way it will be immediately saved to a prefab. So now when I hit play, we should play the animation. Right, so we have our idle animation, and notice now that we still have the problem that when we switch our weapon, for some reason we are always loading the handgun. Okay, so there's definitely a bug going on. Let's see, do we have any arrows? Okay, we get the warnings that this firing does not exist, so we need to set this all up. I assume it has something to do with our animator and the fact that we just have like 2 animations. So what we are going to do is we have inside our shooting script all these boosts and triggers for our rifle animator, right? So if we head over to our anim rifle controller, you see we create all these parameters here, right? And so in order to make this dynamically work with our script, we also need to create the exact same parameters for our pistol, okay? So first off, let's create a bool called isFiring. And then we also need to grab the animation isFiring. Make sure to use fire handgun like so. So we just drag and drop that in. And then I will create a transition without has exit time checked. And then for the transition, we want to use, or for the condition is firing to true, and we want to go back once firing is set to false. So with that, we should be already able to play the shooting animation. There we go. Okay. And then let's just repeat that for all the other statements that we have inside, or parameters that we have inside our animator here. So we have reloading is running. And then a bool code is running. And then we have is aiming. And then finally reload ammo. And of course we have to add these animations as well. So I will do this here. And first off, where do we have the reload out of ammo? Let's make a transition and back. And for the condition, we want to say reloading, okay? And then make sure it has exit time as unchecked, but when we go back from our reload animation to our idle animation, we want to make sure it's checked, okay? And then we can also take the run animation and make also transition here. So we are basically repeating all the steps we already did inside our anim controller, since this follows the same logic. So it's running set to true, and is running set to false. Okay. And then finally reload ammo left. Okay, so let's just try it out and see if everything works. Normally it should. So I shoot one round, reloads. Okay, this is not working. Let's see if we empty our mag. Okay, this animation is playing. When we run, the animation is playing. The only animation that is not playing is the reload once we are not empty. Once we still have bullets inside our magazine, it seems like it's not playing. So I guess I misspelled that again. It's called ammo reload, and I think I called mine reload ammo here. Okay, so let's change that, and now it should finally work. So one shot, reload, there we go. Okay, so we got all of that. Now I will create for our guns data a new bool where I would say is pistol, and then let's add this here to our argument list. Underscore is pistol, and then we will assign that, of course. So is pistol set to underscore is pistol. Okay. And then back to our down side aiming. Instead of saying equals name pistol, to make this more dynamic, we can just say is pistol, and we need to check if it's not a pistol. And the same here, we need to change that to is pistol. Okay, that's a little bit more cleaner, and at the same time it's more dynamic, because right now with that we can easily just check the box if we have a pistol or not. Okay, and because a pistol oftentimes can only shoot semi-automatic, just a single shot, we also need to make change our logic here where we shoot our gun. Let's add here just an if statement, say if inventory if it's not a pistol, we want to do that. Okay. Then I will minimize that, and then I will say else. So if it's a pistol, we want to use get mouse button down. So with that we have a single shot. Okay, and then we can minimize that as well. Mouse button down. There we go. So back to Unity, when I hit play now and try to shoot the pistol, we should be only allowed to shoot single rounds. And if I switch back to our rifle, we should then be able to shoot automatic. But we can only do that, of course, if we change inside our weapon database script for our first weapon is pistol. We need to make sure that it's checked. So I hold down the left mouse button, and you see we no longer can shoot automatically. So we only have single shots now. But if I switch to the second weapon, I can still shoot in auto mode. Okay. Alright, so we have fixed that as well. Now the only issue that we still have is that for some reason we are only loading the handgun, even though I have selected the second gun inside my inventory, and my second gun has actually the arms assault rifle weapon mesh instead of the handgun, but for some reason we are still seeing the handgun. So I guess I will pause the video here quickly and see where the issue is and start recording again once I have found where the issue is. Okay, so I was able to find the issue. So here inside the set weapon function, we say down here, or I say that at least, where we say instantiate, I say simply inventory, and then I always just grab the first item. So I need to change that to index. Okay, so that was the issue. Okay, and here at the top inside start, I do it correctly. I use the gun index. Not quite sure why I used here just the first element, but that should fix this issue. So I will make sure to drag and drop the handgun back because I played around with the weapon mesh here. So inside my weapon database, I will just drag and drop that over like so. Hit play. And there we go. So now if I switch over to the second weapon, we get our AK and everything's working. And if I switch back to the first weapon, we get our handgun. And again, I can only shoot once with our handgun, and with our assault rifle, I can still shoot in automatic mode. Okay, and it seems like we have a little bit a problem with the aiming downside script. So let me double check this here quickly. Okay, so we always check in here as well if the first element is a pistol, so we need to make this dynamic. So we use the shoot script and get the gun index, and we will repeat that for here as well. So here we say if it's the pistol, do that. If not, use the standard aiming downside position. Okay, so this is still working. If I switch over to the assault rifle and hold down right mouse button, you see it also works now. Alright, so we are pretty much finished with that. It's also a little bit more dynamic now, since we have added the is pistol bool to our weapon database. So with that we can actually remove here the bool that we just created in the beginning of this episode. Is rifle, because we no longer need that, because with this setup it's a little bit more dynamic now. Okay, so we got all of that down. We're pretty much finished with all of that. The last thing that I want to do is to take care finally of enemies, and I guess I will split this then also up. Let's see how long I'm actually recording. You know what, to separate this a little bit more, I will wrap up here this episode, because here with this episode we have finally finished everything when it comes to shooting or in FPS mechanics, and then I will use the next episode to finally take care of the enemies, because when it comes to enemies there are also quite a few things that we have to do in order to make it work properly. So I hope you don't mind that I split this up now, even though I said I will also include in this episode enemies, but yeah, I think this way it will be more organized. Okay, so as always, thanks for watching and see you maybe next time. Bye.